What's up, fellas? I got my man up in here, Mediocre Tutorial Reviews. Salute, bro.
What's
Let me
good?
see.
What's good? What's good?
For all the guys, you can't troll now. You got to be a member. So if you think you come over here thinking you're gonna troll, you can't troll today. So you might as well forget it. If you think you're gonna troll. What's up, bro? I see you over there doing big things on your channel.
Man, I'm just I'm just trying to, do everything I can in this space in order to make sense of this crazy world that we live in, man. You know what I mean? So day by day, you know what I mean? But I
That's
appreciate
what's
you
up.
inviting me over here to the platform, man. I've been watching you for so long now. It feels dope to actually get an invitation over here in order so we can chop it up. So I feel as though we're gonna get into it today. You know what I mean? We're gonna cook.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Y'all, is it lagging on my end, guys? I see. Is it my Wi-Fi on point? I think my Wi-Fi on point. I think we should be good. I seen it was lagging right then, but it's good right now. All right, bro. So what everybody want to know is, I asked everybody this, so I'd ask you, how did you become red pill? How did you find the red pill?
So, my
Shout out Donna
story.
White.
So my story is probably very similar to, a lot of, the young men that are down into the space that actually, watch us as well. So, but with a slight twist, right? So my original story, of course, had to do with a girl that was in my life, you know what I'm saying? And, but it happened at a time where this whole space wasn't even a thing, you know what I mean? So it happened to me back in college when I was like in my 20s or something like that. I'm 35 years old right now, so it was a pretty long time ago. So what happened to me was with a girl, and
Okay.
but with that situation, I was able to essentially transfer all of that pent up rage into like success for myself and focus within myself later into my life. You know what I'm saying? So I'm actually abundantly happy that it happened to me so early in my life, because it got me really focused on developing myself. So but it wasn't until, that's when I was focused in on it, but it wasn't until about beginning of 2019 until I kind of came into the space. And I never forget, actually, I don't even know if you know this, but actually had one of my homegirls through for the weekend, and I was scrolling up on YouTube and I came across a video that you might be familiar with entitled "They're All Sluts." And I came across that
Yeah,
video.
the infamous video. Yeah.
Yeah, I came across that video, clicked into it, and I remember like I was sitting here watching it, and after about 3 to 4 minutes into it, I took a look at her, and her eyes were rolling in the back of her head. She was so upset at the video, and then it came into, why don't I just do a reaction based off of this? You know what I'm saying? And that was the first video that I uploaded at that time. Because before then, I didn't even know there was like a manosphere. I wasn't really familiar with red pill, kind of the definition of it, even though I've been living, a decade plus with that mentality. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't
Right.
until then, uploading it and seeing that there was a whole space that, then I decided to come in and try to make an impact.
That's what's up, brother. Did you go through the normal stages that most guys go through, the anger and all
Yeah.
that, all those crazy stages? What most guys, when they find just can't believe it, female nature and all that stuff. Did you go through all that withdrawal and all that, like love is over and all this other? Did you go deal with all that?
Literally textbook. I went through it all, and I was in a period of a rage state for a couple of years too, bro. It was a couple of years, but looking back on it, just as I said earlier, it's one of the most important things that happened to me within my life, because knowing the things that I know now, I was so lost. Like if you asked 18, 19-year-old MTR, like, where would you be at right now? It would be, I would have probably got married like in my mid-20s or something like that, would have settled down. And I think to conclude and see where my life is right now and the degree of happiness that is within my life, because I'm closer to who I actually am as a person, and not, entrapped within the matrix, which had created a reality for myself, and as well as a lot of all of these dudes that had nothing to do with our real happiness, but it's the contrived happiness in order to make, a woman happy, or put a woman up on a pedestal, and, and not understanding the nature and the things that actually bring us closer to true joy and happiness within our life. So, I see there's a lot of brothers that come into the space that are, pretty upset at finding the reality. And to a lot of these brothers, I always say, no, be happy that something happened to you that made you stumble in on this particular content, because now you're beginning to understand the information that you need to become the best version of yourself that you possibly and absolutely can. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
so it was pivotal for me, brother. You know what I'm saying? It was pivotal for me. I wish that there was this portion of YouTube available to me as a resource, because I had to figure it out on my own. But if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have been forced to understand my meaning, to understand my purpose, you know, to understand what truly and really makes me happy without a woman's presence, you know, to learn how to be alone, you know, to be confident in what the things that I'm saying is, to develop my masculinity. If it wasn't for that, there would not be like the MTR as you see today. So.
Okay. With all that you knowing, do you think it's possible for you ever to let your guard down to love a woman? Is that totally out the question, or is you just gonna be non-monogamous your whole life?
So what's completely out of the question is the concept of marriage as it exists today, right? Like that's completely out of the question. And you know, oftentimes I say onto my channel, it's so ridiculously antiquated. And if you combine in on the level of delusion that exists from women today, which, you know, and I say this as well, is like, I don't think that it's all of their fault. I think, you know, to a degree, a lot of them were just raised in this lopsided structure, in this lopsided, like, American culture, which enables delusion and bad behavior. But that's besides the point. But, you know, so I don't blame it on them. But, you know, like I say, like, you know, a lot of, you know, we're all incentivized, you know, incentive driven people. Right. So if you can get the benefits of a contract like that and face little to none of the repercussions, then it would make sense that it's pushed so much. It makes complete and utter sense why it's pushed so much. But what I appreciate is this space kind of, you know, opens dudes' eyes to the negatives of something like that before they sign their name on the dotted line. But, you know, to say that there's not, like, you know, because as I've gotten older, bro, you know, I no longer enjoy my Friday and my Saturday nights as so much as I enjoy my Saturday mornings and my Sunday mornings, meaning, you know, time that I get to focus on my purpose and everything like that. And I think that particular lifestyle, as you get older, you know, can be much more situated with, you know, having a partner or two, as opposed to going out and dating on Fridays and Saturday night, you know. Because I think, like, when you think about yourself and your legacy and whatever you develop yourself to be, it's going to be predicated off of the execution and the work, right? And the actual things that you're doing to be the most awesome person that you can, and not necessarily on the amount of bodies that you have accumulated throughout your life. Like, they won't write that on your tombstone, you know what I'm saying, in your obituary.
Okay. All right. Let me ask you this, for all the guys out there, especially me and you. I don't know if you have any kids. I don't have any kids, but for red pill men that want to leave a legacy, besides their purpose or, you know, their business or something like that, say a kid or something to carry on their name, how do they supposed to get over that feeling of dealing with the repercussions of, you know, having offspring today with child support laws the way they are and the visitation laws? You know, the women have all the rights and stuff like that. So speak on the guys who want to, you know, have that. Some guys want to have more than one. Some guys want to have 3-4 kids. Like, you know, what are guys like that supposed to do?
Well, so the first thing that I would say to those dudes is, are you sure? Right? Because again, this whole red pill thing is teaching us how to think outside of the matrix. So, and being able to understand what would truly and really make you happy. I think that there's a lot of dudes that have been convinced that, you know, you're not sufficient as a man unless you have kids, or you're not sufficient or proficient as a man unless you settle down and get married and all of this stuff. And, you know, even, you know, sometimes when I do the interviews with the women that come in on my channel, you know, they'll use like, and things that they don't even recognize within themselves is like little shaming tactics, as to say, oh, well, you're not ready to settle down because you're not mature yet. Right. And they don't even consider that to be a degree of a shaming tactic, but they'll say these little things that the culture has infused within them to make them be able to manipulate you to the matrix that they currently live in. So that's the first question is, are you sure?
Sure. Right.
Are you sure? And if you are sure, then, you know, if kids is your legacy, then that's fine. You know, it probably be a component of my legacy as well, because, you know, I'm raised by a single father, and, you know, I think to the information and the knowledge that he was able to instill within me as a young kid growing up. And, you know, if I'm able to do that, you know, for my future offspring, then, you know, at least half as good as what he was able to do, then I would consider, you know, that a success in a major part of my legacy. But be safe out there, you know what I'm saying, and be careful, and don't let all the dudes that's listening. Shout out to the Sleazeball gang. I didn't say what up to the family over here, you know what I'm saying, but you know, to all the fellas, just make sure that it is a part of your legacy, and it is not an idea that was infused in you, a part of this blue pill ideology that we all grow and live in. Like, we all still trying to shake off the conditioning, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Now, you spoke on the programming, the social programming. So you got a lot of red pill guys that are going to grow up, you know, me and you, we pretty much stuck in our ways. We grown. But say for a 26, 25-year-old guy that grew up in a religious family, the friends are religious and they believe in marriage and stuff like that, they could shame you also because you're living outside the normal paradox of what they see as how a man's supposed to be. You now have a family and stuff like this right here. You don't have a wife, kids. How are guys supposed to get past that dynamics of the shame and tactic from family and friends that, you know, don't believe in the red pill philosophy?
Yeah. So, you know, the funny thing is that, you know, so before I even came across this sector of YouTube, I always had these thoughts, feelings, and ideologies. Like I said, like I was officially red pill early in my 20s and got really selfish with myself, got off the social media and got hungry, right? And got hungry and really started to dive in deep to find like all this information out about the world and myself. I was traveling and one of the first things like within my travels that I started to understand is like how different people are and how depending upon the country that you grew up in, you know, but depending upon the culture that you are used to, your ideology will be forever shaped by that, you know, until you get outside of that box, until you're able to think outside that box. So fact of the matter is that if you're stuck in your hood, if you're stuck in your block, if you're stuck on your street corner, right, and all of these people are trying to feed you information that you feel like is not a part of your overall goal, then get out. Yeah, right. Like, you know, travel across the world. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like when I was back in school, you know, I had the opportunity to go to 13 countries in Europe and just get out and just travel and stuff like that. And it just blew my mind and just opened up my perspective to things not inside of the United States and to see how much different people can think about things depending upon, you know, their geographic background and the cultures and the customs and the this and the that. My thing is that you have to, as men, we have to be extremely intentional. And this is the thing, finding your meaning in life, finding your purpose in life is one of the most hardest things that you can absolutely do. But the investment of being able to do that, you'll make that back 50-fold, right? Because if not, then you live your life directionless, right? And if you do not have strategic imperatives or a roadmap that you're trying to sit yourself on in order to attain whatever you call as joy or whatever you call as happiness, then you flounder throughout life. So if someone comes into your space or while you're on your path and your goals and they want you to do something for them, right? Or they want you to, whatever it is, then you can make that choice and or decision to see if what they want of you is along your path towards whatever you're trying to get to in your life. But unless you determine what these things are for you, then you'll just let people just come into your life and just, you know, bump you off of the road towards success. So I say all that to say is that you have to be really intentional on developing kind of what your goal is, what your roadmap is. And if you have people in your life, including your family, including your blood, that can't get on your program, then you have to let them go after a while. I was just having a discussion in my server, my Discord server, with a young brother that was talking about he's got family members that are bringing him down. And, you know, the first thing that we started to talk about is, well, then you got to cut it. You got to cut them out your life. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, so it's with a fine tooth comb. And here's what it is that, you know, I have friends in my life which are closer to me and more in tune with the ideas that I have than even family members. And that's okay, right? You can't convince everybody. All you can do is just speak your truth on your path towards greatness and just go from there.
Good, brother. Good. So let me ask you this, brother, because me and you, we older now. A lot of our friends are gonna be settled down and stuff like this right here. How can a guy whose friends are starting to settle down, how can you avoid that loneliness? This is what gets a lot of guys trapped into want to marry a woman or settle down and stuff like this. Because as you get older, you got some of you guys are young now. The guys you're hanging with now that 19, 20, 21, well, they're gonna start getting married and settle down with kids, and they're not gonna be there. And so how can guys not fall in that trap of needing a woman once they friends start to, fall off by the wayside, get married and stuff like that? How can guys not feel that loneliness and avoid that pitfall?
Well, so I think, I think loneliness is, a muscle that you got to build, right? In order to combat loneliness, just like you got to build your muscles in the gym in order to make them bigger, better, faster, stronger. You can combat your loneliness. So like, if you grew up going from relationship to relationship to relationship, and then you know what I'm saying, you're single, well, you're gonna feel super lonely, you know what I'm saying? Or as opposed to, if you do things by yourself, right? You go out to the movies by yourself, you go to this, then you build up that muscle, you know what I'm saying? And so what I would also tell brothers, besides focusing on building up that loneliness muscle, is again, think about that particular end goal. Like myself, bro, like, I've been single like about 15 years or so. But I've been doing that as for a purpose, right? Like I've had situationships and stuff like that, and I've been having my share of fun and all of that stuff. But like legit relationship status, I haven't done that since, the original story that I told you about. But see, my thing is like I'm on this path in this goal, and I'm focusing in on not only from a 9-to-5 perspective, because I still got my 9-to-5, but then also, from a YouTube perspective, is that I just don't have time because of the future that I see for myself. You know what I'm saying? Like one of my goals recently, I just recently accomplished is being able to pay off, the mortgage in my condo, and being able to do that. I wouldn't have been able to do that unless I had that goal or that focus, in mind, because I would have had, girlfriends that I might have been spending, a little bit of this and that on, or I might have had, trips and stuff like that I might have been taking. So, again, I set a goal. And then and then also too, there's a lot of brothers in here that set these audacious goals, I call them, and I also call it like them trying to boil the ocean. You know what I'm saying? The analogy is you can't boil the ocean, but what you can do is, you can boil a coffee pot full of water and just start there. You know what I'm saying? And just piecemeal it, and just piecemeal it in order to get to whatever it is that you're trying to get to. So build up that muscle, that loneliness muscle, in my opinion, and then make sure that you set them goals and be intentional about it. Like I got some brothers that, I mentor and stuff like that, where, I ask them questions like, being able to find their meaning in life and their purpose, and they start listing and rattling off all these things. And then, I take the top 3 things that they say and they talk about, and I said, okay, well, how many hours per week are you focused in on these? Like developing and training yourself and the skill set to be the best that you can be at these top 3 things, because these top 3 things, you can turn those into revenue generating opportunities. And more often than not, the bottom of the list things, right? The things that are easy to focus on, whether it be, the sports that they watch on the weekends, or like the Netflix that they just stand a third, is where they spend their most time at, right? So then, I got to continue to challenge them as like, with these things at the top, you should be focusing in on hours in the gym per week, the proverbial gym per week, in order to get the best that you can at this, right? To be able to differentiate yourself in the market, to really deliver value, maybe you can make some money off of it.